Hey everybody, welcome back to the ChatGTM podcast. We're reporting here live once more from the Prosper Accelerate Conference in downtown Dallas at the beautiful Omni Hotel. And tonight, I am joined by a client, a new friend, and somebody I respect in the marketplace, a sales ninja. Ooh. Cha-cha-cha. Mr. Devon McDonald. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Thanks for being here. Dude, I know how busy you are. I know all the stuff that's going on here. If you're here with us, it better be worthwhile because there's some networking out there. And I've watched you. You're masterful.
You know, network, got to network.
Got to
meet some people, close some deals. Stand up some AI. You know how it goes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your Prosper experience before we dip into what Revmo, which gives you Mo Rev, is all about.
For sure. This is our first Prosper Accelerate experience. Honestly, been pretty amazing. Didn't really know what to expect, right? We don't do a lot of networking forward conferences. We do a lot of exhibiting. But we've got some new individuals that, we want to get in front of more leadership sessions and how do you actually cultivate culture. It's actually a really good segue for our company. We're small, about 20 people. We've only been around a year and a half, and we actually growing. That's right. On Thursday this past week, we flew the whole team in and we did a big culture session of creating our actual core values. What are our pillars? How do we stand up as a business to operate for our clients, for our customers, but for ourselves? Who do we want to be? And, there's some really great sessions in general. There were some great sessions that were breakout sessions that resonated that really well. One of my favorites was the Chipotle session with Lois today, who went over core values. And I thought that was it resonated with me, but also very quickly to what we just discussed as an organization. So honestly, it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, I agree. Chad, what about you? Let's think about one of your key takeaways from the last couple of days.
Well, I want to level set as we put this context of what you guys do. Because you said you guys do AI.
We do a little bit.
But not just any AI. One of the most trending topics in our industry with AI. Competitors springing up everywhere. Tell everybody what exactly Revmo does.
Yeah, for sure. So we're a voice AI product. We essentially take inbound calls for restaurants as well as a couple other industries, and we handle reservations, we handle orders, we handle event inquiries, catering, you name it, whatever the call entails, we'll take it and we'll put the outcome, right? Our goal is not to just handle a call, but to drive actual success outcomes. There's been some studies done, anywhere between 70 to 80% of calls coming into any business is a revenue-bearing opportunity. And often those are missed. Often those are mishandled. And, the nice thing about AI is it's always on, never calls out sick, doesn't wake up grumpy. Significant other didn't break up with them the night before, so we can handle those calls and make sure that the revenue comes into those businesses without having to have any gaps
and no disruption to the business.
That's right.
No disruption to guest service.
It's great when I hear a prospect or a client say, hey, what I really want to do is rip the phones out of my stores. I'm like, that is a great thing. Like, we can help with that. That's the goal.
It's almost antiquated. They have these things that they don't even pick up. It just sits there, rings and rings and rings, and they're losing dollars.
One of the hardest things right now is this generation is not the most socially inclined to talk to individuals, unfortunately. And we were talking to a couple people today that said it's impossible to have these 19 to 25-year-olds actually pick up the phone. They just are avoiding it constantly.
Let alone with enthusiasm, energy.
Let alone with brand standards, you name it, right? Like, that's a whole nother layer on top of it. So, there's a lot of things that we can help to eliminate that gap that those businesses are seeing, but also really make the employees feel a lot more efficient with customer-facing activities versus having to deal with the phone.
And thinking about the stuff that you're doing, I was surprised to learn that you're not just in restaurants.
That's correct.
Other verticals that you serve. What are some places you play?
So our primary verticals are restaurants and automotive businesses. So we actually found a niche in quick service lube. They don't get a ton of phone calls, but interestingly enough, a lot of price checks and then people who are looking up discounts and coupons. So relatively easy calls to handle, but there's actually a safety aspect to it, right? We've all got our oil changed before. The people who are usually answering those calls are the techs. They're the ones, actually working on the oil and lube in our cars, and they got to rip the gloves off. They got to run in and answer the phone.
And they're probably a little, excuse the language, pissed off, like they're getting distracted from that. They're in the middle of the job.
Oh yeah, they're supposed to be in and out in 20 minutes. So now you got a phone call. You got to rip the gloves off. You got to answer the phone. You got to put the gloves back on. That 5 to 7 minutes. Exponentially adds up, and you're talking about 5 to 6 additional changes that can happen. So,
or even the error that could cause when they're distracted from oil, they leave the plug out, the oil drain,
safety issues, right? They slip on oil. That is a workplace, injury lawsuit on your hands.
Yeah.
So
and nothing against the automotive industry. I absolutely love them, but the guys that are working on the cars aren't usually the customer service type.
They're not the best.
Yeah,
they're not the best. They're good at what they do.
Absolutely. That's why I was
very similar to this current generation. Not the best at answering the phones.
Yeah. Chad?
So one of the things that has become an instant cliche, not just in our industry, but but mostly ours of late, is the idea that AI projects are failing. Right?
Yeah.
Most of them are, 70, 90, whatever the number is.
Yeah, the number's high.
Are failing.
Yeah.
And yet, you've got customers that have had massive successes with an AI project.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it succeeding for your customers using Revmo, whereas the general rule is that these things don't work out?
So a couple things on that. I think a lot of the reasons that there were early failings were the first movers were operating on independent LLMs that they stood up themselves. Right. This is predating ChatGPT, OpenAI, Perplexity, you name it. So these are homegrown LLMs that are better than IVR, but not really not that sophisticated. Right? Yeah. So that's part of the problem where there's this sour taste, which is done it, tried it, maybe have heard about it, and I heard it didn't work. I think things are moving in the right direction. The biggest problem, though, is it's an exponential rise in the usage of AI, meaning that there's a new LLM every day, right? ChatGPT 5 came out 2 months ago, and at this point, we'll probably see 6 by the end of the year. Yeah. So you build on 5, but you really can't. You have to be able to build continuously, nonstop. And I think, Bobby Beckman, our co-founder and CTO, has done a really good job on utilizing LLMs that make the most sense for the call that we're handling. So we use a variety. We don't just plug and play into one. If we have a very quick call, it's general FAQs, we might use a dumber model, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
That allows us to process it really fast. And that's an older model that we already have. Whereas if we need to process an order, it's much more complex. So we're going to shift into a different model that ultimately allows us to handle the complexity on that. So the way we're approaching it is, how do we create the best voice experience rather than how do we just create voice AI in general?
Yeah.
Well, something that I was excited to learn about when we were at FS Tech just recently, right? Donato's Pizza.
Yeah.
The way that they love on what you guys have done for them was honestly surprising, because you guys know not many companies will actually give a testimonial in person live about something they do until it's completely rolled out and it's been bulletproof and tested forever. And it has been in their world. But the way that he spoke about it was in glowing terms, literally glowing terms. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for Donato's.
Yeah, so we're launched throughout the entire system for Donato's. We're handling orders as well as general FAQs, but primarily, it's a pizza chain. Yeah. We still call today. I'm sure you guys do occasionally to call in for a pizza. I know I'm old school. I like that.
I'm an older guy.
Yeah, it's easier. That's what I'm ingrained with.
Yeah.
So we're processing orders for Donato's, and we stood that up in about 2 months. Custom POS, custom integrations. And we saw they had a previous vendor that ultimately went out of the market. They were trying it. I won't name names, but I think we can assume who that might be.
Sure.
So they needed a replacement, and we kind of came in and out of 3 other competitors won the bid, launched it within 2 months. We're processing, I don't know what it is, 20,000+ orders a month. 100,000+ phone calls a month. Our success rate when we start an order is close to 80%. Our accuracy on the actual orders is 99.9%. It's less than 1 in 1,000 that we actually get wrong, which is unheard of in this industry.
How's that data compared to a human that will be doing that function?
I mean, you're going to have so much more errors with humans in the first place, let alone missed calls, right?
Sure.
Concurrent calls is a big thing. Think about this. Super Bowl is about to come up here in a couple months. Yep. Everyone and their mother is going to be calling for pizza, wings, you name it. And they get busy signals. And I get this all the time with my local pizza joint. And luckily, I like them enough, so I'm going to try about 15 times. But some people don't. They don't have the patience for it. Yeah. And we can handle all 15 calls all at once. So what's going to be a real interesting test for us is getting into these busy moments, right? There's Halloween is one of their biggest, Valentine's Day, as well as Super Bowl. When we start processing so many orders, they might actually have to start pulling it back, right?
Can they handle it?
Can they handle it? Throttle it, right?
You're going to have to throttle it. So those will be some interesting tests that we're excited to work with Donato's with and really figure out. And the next iteration for us is loyalty. It's how do we ingest coupons? How do we ingest personalization? Saying, hey, Michael, want your same pizza that you ordered last week. So there's a lot of cool things we can do.
So Devon, CRM, right? The timing of this conversation is fantastic. Because we almost an hour ago, whatever it was, heard a keynote on AI, and the speaker Andrew posited what is the true superpower of AI, and he basically landed on mimicry.
Yeah.
So in your with Donato's and your other customers, what is it that if you think about your solution that way, that you're mimicking that is so powerful?
Well, one of the things we take is we have a content library where we can ingest anything that a brand gives us, right? So the biggest thing is they all have brand standards. That's the first thing that we're looking at, right? How should someone answer the phone? But they also have training manuals, right? They have verbiage that they want to make sure someone says. Some of them have tonality, right? Making sure that someone is always positive and upbeat. We have a couple of clients that are working with us on custom voices. We can use,
very exciting.
Yeah, we can use your voice, for example, and take a minute clip and put a custom voice in there. So there's some really cool things that these brands can do. We do need your permission. Okay. It's funny. So we have a pizza chain that just started with us. Speaking of custom voices,
Scar Joe.
We have a pizza chain that just launches in about a week.
Yeah.
They're based in Texas, right outside of Austin, and the guy is a big Star Wars fan. May 4th, right? Yeah, May the 4th be with us. He wants to change the voice in May to C-3PO.
Oh.
And we're like, yeah, we could do it. There might be a licensing issue, but yeah, right? Yeah, there might be a licensing issue there, but we'll figure something out and make it work. But there's some cool customizations that we can do, and we can mimic anything, anyone, but it's really brand standards.
Well, that's funny you mentioned it too, because yesterday Josh Halpern got on stage going, I would love to have this voice from the box for his Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. Right when he said that, one of our employees, Kat, leaned over to me and she said, I just put in a demo request to create a demo for them using Shaq's voice, because we can also do that. So, we're gonna send something his way and say, because I think he mentioned, he's like, it's not there yet, and we're both like, it is.
We want to deliver that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can absolutely deliver that.
We can put that on top.
I love
of Stack for you guys.
100%.
Josh, I'm gonna put this on your plate. Just letting you know. So, Chad.
So, on this, continuing on the subject of mimicry, it's like, restaurants don't always have the ability to put forth their best, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, so I'm thinking, add on this, run on this, like the idea, you're trying to copy your best employee on their best day.
That's right.
But 20 of them, especially in those busy moments, holding the brand standards. Yeah. It's like we're trying to mimic and copy the unachievable.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, like the interesting thing about the inflection point of AI. It's kind of this exponential growth that you've seen. It's the build of it and the usage of it and the practicality of putting it in the market. That was the first piece. Now it's practical. Now it's a trending topic. Everyone is starting to look into it and or start applying it. The next thing is, what can we do? And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of these businesses, especially in the enterprise space, who have, I don't want to call it like a chief AI officer, but someone who has like a prompt officer, right? And they're going to start looking into, how do we create what perfect is? Again, they've got perfect brand standards, but maybe they've never had anyone actually deploy that perfectness ever in their businesses. And I think you're going to see teams, culture teams, you're going to see people teams, field teams, you name it, figuring out what is best. And then how do we go and put that in, whether it's drive-through AI, voice AI, back of the house, in front of the house, you name it. We're just on the precipice of what AI can actually do. It's going to be really interesting in the next year and a half where it takes us.
What about from the idea of every brand has its own persona, right? How it walks, how it talks, how it dresses, what car it would drive. And I would imagine that flows into the energy by which it talks, right? Chuck E. Cheese might be a little more fun, right? Or you're going to have something to be more energy, or you're calling a 5-star restaurant and you're going to have something a little more gravitas or what have you. Tell me a little bit about tonality.
So tonality is interesting because it's actually not just the brand. It's also the person you're talking to, right? If we're talking in the market that is maybe in the South, Southern drawls, a little bit longer processing phrases. I'm from New York City area, Northeast, and we talk fast. We get to the point. You got 30 seconds. What do you need? South is not like that, right? It's a little bit slower, a lot more personalization coming in, your family. So it's not just the tone of the agent itself. It's actually, to your point, almost mimicking tone. Mirroring. It's not even mimicking. That's right. It's mirroring. It's mirroring that tone. So you actually have a custom conversation, not just to the person, but to the being, which I think is really interesting. So, hey, Michael is Michael, and I have all his purchase history, and I know what he likes, and I know these things, and I can start upselling appropriately. But I also know that he's not from the Northeast, and I might need to address him differently than I address Devon or Chad, which I think is also a very interesting thing that we're starting to build out.
Even the vocabulary.
That's correct.
You don't say wicked to someone in Texas.
Absolutely. You don't. In Boston, that's all we say, right? We park the car on Harvard Yard.
So regional dialect tonality that matches where because if you have a national chain, One size does not fit all.
One size does not fit. An international chain, one size does not fit all, right? There's, it's not just tonality; it's also languages, right? We work with Din Tai. Work with Din Tai Fung. They have a heavy Mandarin customer base, and our agent can switch into Mandarin automatically. You don't have to press 1 for Mandarin. You don't have to press 2 for English. Press 3 for Spanish. You speak your natural language, and we're going to immediately switch.
Which is arguably one of the most challenging languages on the planet.
Yeah, I actually have a funny story about the Mandarin agent. So when we built that out, the customer came back and said, "Hey, that's not. We don't think that's Mandarin, and I don't know." We didn't know Mandarin. We don't have anyone that speaks Mandarin on the team. Our CTO, Bobby, sent the agent to a buddy of his that speaks Mandarin. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's Mandarin, not Cantonese. And we're like, all right. We sent it back and said, all right, it's done. It's fixed. We didn't fix anything. It was Mandarin the whole time. So again, it's tough, right? Sometimes people just don't know because you don't have the person that can actually speak it. So one of the things we need to start doing as a business is not just, right, we got the Spanish, we've got the French, we've got the basic languages down, but there's other languages that we just don't necessarily have the people who speak it in-house, and we need to make sure that we're vetting that. And that's within the prompting. That's not just languages, that's also, to your point, it's tonality, it's processing phrases. So we're taking a really fine-tooth comb when we launch an agent, or before we launch an agent, and making sure that it's up to their brand standards, it's up to language standards, it's up to processing standards, that this is not just a templatized product that we're just ripping and replacing from business to business.
Well, from a technical perspective, how does that work? Is there somebody in a recording booth that they're doing samples of that voice, or is it pulling that just from the corpus of language that's in the LLM and then applying what it believes is the Mandarin Cantonese style?
That's how it's done now, right? And I think what we're going to start seeing is libraries of essentially languages and content.
Right.
When we do personalized recording phrases and we have someone's voice customized, we take a minute clip. I think the most recent one, he sent a 20-minute clip of him just talking, which is better. The next is we probably need a script because there's going to be different words, right? He might say a 20-minute script, but he doesn't say hello, goodbye, and his welcoming and his departing phrases. So we might get it wrong, right? It sounds like him, but it might be an awkward phrase that we've got to fix. So I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more scripting come in, both from custom voices, but also the voices that we use, as well as the languages that we have.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about catering. What do you think, or actually maybe have you seen being the application in catering? Because I would imagine there could be two first instincts. One would be catering orders are too valuable to me. I'm not going to trust it with AI. Sure. The other could be catering orders are too valuable to me. I don't want to risk missing any.
Oh, yeah. I think it goes both ways. We talked to a business about a week ago or 2 weeks ago at Fast Casual Executive Summit conference we were recently at. And they are, I think it's they're a 15 location chain. They're getting 20,000 calls a month, mostly which are catering alone, which is wild to think about. And I think they've done a really good job on harnessing the power of voice in the first place and getting the number out there as a way and a channel to ingest those catering calls. And we were talking to the two directors of catering that handle the business, and they're like, all of those calls come to us. We can't handle that, right? We need help handling those calls. And there's different things we can do. We can handle it ourselves to the point if you don't want to miss it. Or if someone says, hey, I want to take the high value tickets, we can have modifiers in there that say, hey, if this ticket is of a certain value, we can create a lead form that then automatically goes to someone's CRM system, or even potentially their phone, right? Where it will text you and say, hey, you've got a catering order coming in. It's for Michael Beck. Here's his number. Here's his email. Call him back ASAP. And now they don't have to worry about 20,000 calls. It's maybe 2,000 high value calls, which is great from an efficiency standpoint for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my brain starts going to all the other places. I'm over to think about medical applications.
Oh my gosh,
intaking patients, things that just soften that blow, right? School systems, taking that in.
I mean, public sector right now, SLED is really interesting for us. You're starting to see a lot of police departments with non-emergency lines that are using AI. And there's a rumor on the street that there is and I don't know how true this is, so maybe we cut it out. I don't know. We'll find out.
He's speculating.
There's a rumor on the street that the White House actually has a bid for a massive call center that they want to put AI in to not necessarily have the employees.
Is it that guy that's answering the phone?
Maybe. So I think you're going to start.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. It's big. Big, huge. It'll be really interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of, we can boil the ocean, right? Yeah. Anyone that has calls can use AI. I think you're going to see a combination of businesses that really are great at one vertical, right? They're on restaurants. I'm only going to do restaurants. And then you're going to see some businesses that do really well in one vertical and go, okay, now we've got to attack another. And that's kind of our approach, right? We don't want to boil the ocean, spread mile wide, inch deep. It's how do we create a really good voice experience? One, how do we do that with restaurants? Two, how do we do that with auto? Three, and then it's what are the adjacent categories, right? So you're talking about hospitality, hotels, resorts. For auto, you could be looking at home services or health services, right? Massage Envy, for example, right? Those types of businesses. So there's a lot of different applications for it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it almost feels like it also can even go beyond the call once you're in the business, and maybe there is a language challenge in the business you're going into.
Absolutely.
Right? And so now you have these greeters that are coming in that you can talk to. I mean, the world's wide open on this stuff.
It can go anywhere.
This is open territory that you can explore, right?
Yeah, I think like one of the things that has really stuck with me over the last couple of weeks that I've been thinking about is I think a lot of people over the last 5 or 6 years have really gone towards apps. It's all digital. Everything is digital. They love digital. Everyone's pushing people digital. So they keep saying voice is dead. I don't think it's dead. I don't. I think voice is dormant.
Yeah.
And I think the best businesses right now are the businesses that are empowering voice and using it as a way to generate revenue rather than ignoring the fact that there's still calls coming in. So for me, it's any business, even a QSR business, people still call a Taco Bell. I can't imagine it's thousands of people, but there are people that call it. And you're seeing QSR businesses or fast casual businesses. Chipotle is standing up voice AI. Jersey Mike's is standing up voice AI. I don't call it Jersey Mike's, but I understand the use case. There's an application there. Rather than having the people who are making the sandwiches pick up the phone when they've got a line out the door at 12:30 p.m., you can have a voice AI quickly answer whatever the heck someone is calling about. And I really think the people that harness it and not ignore that as a channel are going to ultimately win.
Well, I think it boils back to what the last keynote that was talking about AI is. The thing is, amazing engineers develop these tools. It's up to the market to decide what they're going to do with it, right? That's what's really going to move the needle here is what everybody's asking for, and then we choose what we're going to do with these solutions.
100%. I think, and going back to the precipice of how voice AI came about, right? You had the early adopters and the people who tried it, and maybe some of them got burned, maybe they got a sour taste. Now it's kind of more standardized in practice because people are using it personally, right? So like I use ChatGPT, I'm sure you do in some capacity, all day. When you look at voice, it's interesting because Siri's been around for a while. Alexa's been around a while. We're all ingrained in voice. We just haven't used it in a practical environment. So now you have people using LLMs, they're understanding AI, plus they have the practice of voice already coming in. And I think you're going to see that kind of really the overlay on both of those over the next year or two. It's going to be really interesting what happens. I'm a big believer that by 2027, most mid-market enterprise businesses will be using voice AI.
Yeah, I think also you make a really good point with Alexa. I didn't even think about that, or Siri. They showed up and they just blended in the background because we use it all the time. Now we're revitalizing what the power of that is.
Absolutely.
And seeing what other applications we have. Totally. Now the AI's got smarter.
Yeah, I mean, look at the new iOS, right? The new iOS, Siri has ChatGPT embedded into it. You can talk to it and actually punches everything through ChatGPT and gives you the answer. So it's not just us that are thinking this. It's not the competitors in the market that are doing voice AI. Even the big players are thinking about how can we put voice in the pocket at a more accessible rate and have it have a better use case than just answering a general question on how do I make, branzino tonight. I don't know why I thought of branzino. I think we're having branzino.
A lot of people at this point have even played with different voice interfaces with their LLM, just the different personality styles, and it adds to the experience. And what are restaurants trying to do? Trying to create a guest experience. So then you create, brand personas. If you've really heard great voice actors, what they can infuse in those, what they do, it's like that's going to add to the experience. Brands just have to figure out how to best use it.
Totally. What will be interesting is if they get some of the celebrity backers for some of these brands, right? Like Jake Paul's with Doghouse. That would be cool to have Jake Paul's voice for Doghouse. That'd be kind of cool. It's interesting. I think you're going to see an investment, I believe, in voice in some capacity, right? These businesses have spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the experience in their stores. They spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the experience online, on their menu curation, on their staff and the training. Why are we ignoring voice? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. So that's really what we're trying to do is let's harness something that is already there. It's not disappearing. You might as well put some effort into it.
Devon, you make all these are really good points, and every time I've run into you so far, I'm like, I'm so impressed with you. Like,
I appreciate that.
No, you just flow with it. This isn't something you're fetching. Well, let me think of it. You've thought this through, and that's why you can fetch it so easily. Yeah. It just tells how passionate you are about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I took a hiatus from restaurant tech for a couple years, and I learned really quickly that was a mistake. I miss the restaurant community. Yeah. I miss my people. I miss the individuals that I network with and have relationships with. Yeah. And ultimately helping something that is really like held near and dear to my heart. My parents are in restaurants. My father-in-law owns a couple restaurants in Phoenix. So, when you can actually help drive revenue and also make it easier for the employees, it's a win-win for everyone.
That's true.
Right? It's not just putting profits to the bottom line that we were talking about in the last session. There's a lot more that you're talking about. If you're getting thousands of phone calls a day or hundreds of phone calls a day, that could be frustrating. And if you can eliminate that for the host, that's a huge one.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah. I absolutely love it. Well, I know we got a whole dinner that's waiting to have a networking event over there.
It's Branzino.
It's in the Branzino room. But for now, we're going to go ahead and land the plane, as we say. But before we do, where's the best? I know you said you're going to go. I believe you said you're going to RFDC.
Yeah, we'll be RFDC. Yeah. We're going to also be at Pizza Tomorrow in Florida. It's the Florida Restaurant Show, so we'll also be there to meet some regional chains. Yeah, we'll be over by you. I think this is Orlando. Maybe you can make a hop, skip, and a jump, come hang out.
I'll unfortunately be in Atlanta at that time.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
I'm torn. I am so torn.
That's all right. We'll meet you the next time.
We'll get
it. Yep.
And then if people want to get a hold of you, you're a LinkedIn guy.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Go to Revmo.ai. You can find us anywhere. There's some demos on the website. There's some case studies out there with the Dana's numbers that we talked about. But ultimately, if you're a one-location business, we can certainly help. If you're a multi-unit business, we can absolutely help. So there's a lot that we can do. We can get really custom, have some fun, and build a really great product and, have a really good customer experience.
You're a hell of a spokesman for your brand. I absolutely love it.
I appreciate that.
Well, for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off, get some dinner, meet with some people. But for now, I'm also going to close with what I always close with, random acts of kindness. Sprinkle that stuff everywhere. Life's too short. And people like Devon, I have a feeling he does random acts of kindness all the time. It just has his vibe. I feel it from him.
You got it.
Boom. So for now, we're signing off. We'll see you at the next one. Have a blessed day. We'll talk to you later.